SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C Spire. Power your home or business with C Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C Spire. C Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MidDays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, along with Rhino in the Element Wealth Studio, guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Friday Eve.
You got it right this time. Now I'm all confused because I was off yesterday. You know how that goes when you get interrupted a little bit in the sequence. But we're here all strapped in, ready to go. Appreciate Dave filling in yesterday. I was down on the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast for the second week in a row. This time a little different task. The Legislative AI Task Force, of which I am a member, honored and humbled to be selected for that. We met at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. And let me tell you, they got a lot of neat things going on down there, as we do across the community college landscape in Mississippi. But fascinating. There's an unbelievable cybersecurity program they got going on down there that is very impressive, and a lab as well that assists law enforcement with lots of digital and data forensics. And let's be honest, that's how most crimes are solved these days, are with all of the data that folks leave out there because everybody's got a digital footprint.
I don't know that I would go so far as to say most crimes.
No, a lot.
A lot of crimes, yeah.
And not just white-collar crime either.
No.
Violent crime as well. But the university there, the community college, should say, plays a key role with the lab and all of the technology and the assets. And I'm talking human assets as well as technology assets that are involved in and play a role in assisting law enforcement at all levels in tracking down criminals that are doing bad stuff. So there's just lots of creepy people out there on the internet, and they are stalking children a lot. We have law, of course, against that. You remember that passed in, signed into law by the governor, in the 24th session? That was, I think it was the 24th session, was it not? Representative Jill Ford, my rep, was largely responsible for that, authored that, named that. I don't remember
if it was 23 or 24.
I know. We lose track of it here because we deal with so much of that.
They all run together at this point.
Yeah. Named after an individual, you recall, that I think took his life as a result of an encounter, an engagement on the internet by a stalker. So
I don't know that was so much stalking as extortion.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. Well, it probably started out as stalking, ended up as extortion, evolved to extortion. And by that, what we mean is, hey, if you don't send me some money, I'm going to expose, right? So that, and then people freak out, obviously, naturally, don't know how to handle that.
Could be anything from inappropriate texts or secrets or pictures or
all kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But the nonetheless, they've got lots of technology and lots of people involved in solving those crimes. Also, some of the local industry down there utilizes the community college as well for training, for hiring people, for also Keesler as well uses some of the programs and some of the assets there at the facility. So, enjoyed that. Got a presentation from the president of the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. And then Colin Napier, he's been on the program before. He's the one that started the Mississippi Artificial Intelligence Network, also known as MAIN. He talked about how they have infused artificial intelligence into lots of disciplines, lots of training, and we got a really good taste of that and exposure to that. Really good. I enjoyed it. A lot of good stuff going on. Dr. Mary Graham, the president of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, was extremely complimentary of her team, the instructional team there, as she should be, and was really boasting, as she should, about all of the assets that the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College has to offer. She said yesterday that it is the largest community college in the state. I think it and Hines sort of vacillate back and forth for that distinction. Dr. Jonathan Woodward, Vice President of Teaching and Learning, he actually gave a really nice overview of how AI is being infused into education at the community college there, creation of AI hubs, and just the long-term outlook for AI on the Gulf Coast and at the community college. So just a little report there for you. I mainly want folks to know, guys, good stuff are happening at the community colleges in the state of Mississippi. They're not just standing still status quo. They are reacting and adopting and implementing programs, training curriculum, and also maintaining staff that can prepare students for the jobs of the future. So it's really good to see, and lots of interaction with industry as well to make sure. We also got a chance to see the Automobile Technology Center and got a little presentation from the individual that heads that. I don't remember the exact formal name of it, but Rhino, they had a couple of like dune buggy style EVs that the students built from kits. That's pretty neat, isn't it? And then the students involved in the paint and body shop instructional area painted the frame. It's pretty neat, and it looked really good. But that's fascinating. And then there is just a very straightforward instruction on being an electrician, which are desperately needed. And they've got these systems, if you will, really like big power panels. If you know what I'm talking about, if you think about what a typical power panel looks like in your house, just imagine that in about a 10-foot high, 4-foot wide format with all of the wiring, circuit breakers and outlets and all the various sorts of situations you would encounter in just standard residential or commercial wiring, and just fun to watch the students inside.
Training wall.
Yeah, okay, that's exactly what it's called. Thank you. I couldn't remember the formal name. This was all new to me. I'm not familiar with this, but of course you recognize when you see it. We're teaching people how to be electricians here. So, and when they come out, I mean, they're ready to hit the street running. They're ready to be productive on the job site, working for employers or perhaps even on their own at wiring up houses and buildings and the like. Pretty neat. In that training wall, that seems like that'd be very effective, would it not? It's a way to, again, combine everything that you might encounter in a real-world job environment. And each student has one of these training walls.
Maybe not everything, but the most common things you'll run into.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I know that there are always nuances and And,
I mean, the training wall is giving you an interface, but it's not teaching you how to run the cable through a wall that's already built.
Totally right.
Find where, I mean, different things like that the training wall is just, it doesn't have the capabilities, but that's because it's just a part of the education.
Yeah, sure. Makes sense. But you could also make the same assertion about low voltage cabling, data cabling, right? You could have a situation where you're dealing with all the interfaces between the electronics and whatever the electronics are feeding. But yeah, you're going to run into all sorts of unique situations in the actual job environment. And no doubt, trying to figure out sometimes how to get a cable from point A to point B can be a very challenging scenario, and you got to get creative. And I think those folks learn over time how to deal with those various situations and address that. So pretty neat stuff, though. Good stuff going on at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. Today, Daniel Boggs, CEO of Greater Greenville Development, will be on at 10:35. Maurice Sanderson, former policy director for the Republican Governors Association, at 12:05.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Attention, adoring fans!
It's time for Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio. Thanks so much for being with us today on Middays. Good to be back. Of course, you know about the president honoring Charlie Kirk with the Presidential Medal of Freedom on what would have been his 32nd birthday, an emotional ceremony, awarding that posthumously. The highest civilian honor one can earn in our country. He, of course, was Charlie Kirk, assassinated, an activist who inspired a generation of young conservatives. I think he single-handedly pushed a lot of young folks to the right, and I think played a part, was a factor in the election of the president, honestly. And, of course, his widow, Erica Kirk, accepting it on her husband's behalf. Quote, "Thank you, Mr. President, for honoring my husband in such a profound and meaningful way, and thank you for making this event a priority. Your support of our family and the work that Charlie devoted his life to will be something that I cherish forever." And you can't overlook, Rhino, the fact that Charlie was a deeply religious person and very convicted to his faith and his leading his life as a good Christian and doing his best to walk in the light of God and to follow Jesus Christ's teachings in the Bible. And he was not shy about sharing that. And I believe the gospel says that you will be saved, that there's a place in heaven for you, essentially, if you are doing God's work on the earth. And you can't deny that Charlie Kirk was doing that. And wow, who more important to receive the message than our young people who were malleable at the ages that he generally addressed. And you know they're getting beat up, as we've talked about so many times on the program, by left-wing loons in the higher ed environment, many of whom I feel like sometimes can't stand the fact that kids may actually discover faith and praise God and Christ and Christian principles because it detracts from attention they may be giving them. It goes back to what you talk about all the time. It just feels like that these people, they, of course, they relish in and thrive on always being counter to just plain old mainstream traditional principle, I think for attention to a great extent.
Yeah, and it's the coward's way out because it's safe attention. They could point the same anti-religious barbs at, say, Islam. Except when you do that too much, you're in danger for some strange reason that nobody seems to want to talk about. But whenever you draw a picture of the Prophet Muhammad, your life is in danger.
So true.
Whereas you can turn Jesus into an effeminate caricature of a misguided idea of who he was on South Park, and I'm pretty sure those guys are still around.
So help me remember the incident in France a few years ago, right?
Charlie Hebdo?
Yeah. I mean, that ended up in violence, right?
Yeah.
Because folks just happened to do exactly what you were saying. They just kind of made light, honestly, of a particular faith, and that grieved certain people who believe that if you do that, off with your head. Is that not what's happening in Hamas, by the way, even in spite of the ceasefire? They're still busily assassinating dissidents, those who they deem may be somewhat friendly to Israel. On your knees, boom, right in the back of the head. There are videos going around of that.
Oh, yeah.
So
same thing happened in Syria after the regime change.
Yep, exactly right.
Same thing happened in Afghanistan after that abysmal pullout.
And, of course, it's been going on under communist regimes. Anybody that dares speak out against dear leader, you got to go.
Yeah, go look up the chart of life expectancy in China since 1930.
Absolutely.
Because most countries outside of the poorest and the worst off, their life expectancy is an upward climb. It's constantly going up because people are constantly learning more about how to survive longer, more about how to heal better, how to eat better, how to be better, so that you can live longer and experience life for longer. So usually it's an uphill climb. And you look at China's, and there's this cliff where it drops from like 50-something down into the 30s almost, and then manages to get back up. But nobody ever talks about why it dipped and why everybody seemed to be dying.
So you mean your life expectancy is lower under communism, right? Yet the city of New York, the largest city in this country, a great city, is about to elect one of them, Zoran Mamdani. He, of course, was surprisingly on the show with Martha McCallum over there at Fox. And he says, it's being reported by the New York Times, I should say, that he spoke directly to the president, President Donald Trump, in the interview saying, I won't be a mayor like Eric Adams. In other words, I won't be as sort of level-headed and open to ideas and having a positive relationship with, I don't know, the president if I'm the mayor of America's largest city. Also said he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, right, should he appear in New York. Insane this guy is. Now, interestingly enough, the New Republic, that's a news source, though I used that description, oh boy, with fingers crossed behind my back. their headline reporting on this interview of Mondami with Fox's Martha McCallum, it was a train wreck for the host. That's what they said. Martha McCallum did say she used ChatGPT to prep for the interview. Okay. What's wrong with that? Why is that a problem? But they're talking about it. She said she prepped for the interview using ChatGPT. That's what the New Republic says. And she did reveal that as well. And she repeatedly switched topics. Let's be honest. Interviewing someone that you know is an adversary, politically speaking and philosophically speaking, I don't mean in some sort of physical way, would be difficult. There's no doubt. And
well, I mean, if they were an adversary in a physical way, it'd be a difficult interview, too.
Oh, I agree. I wasn't certainly trying to make light of that. I just wanted to make sure that sometimes the word adversary, you know what I mean, is taken out of context.
Only by the simple-minded and
that's so true.
Intentionally obtuse.
Yeah, and Lord knows we know some of those. So she talked about the fact that he didn't have any experience as a business person. And this organization says, though, why that would be necessary for a civil servant is unclear. And I think what she was trying to highlight there was that we have a president, the person elected to the highest office in the land, that does come from a business setting, has a strong business background. I maintain that has served him well in his term and 3/4 of a year as president of the United States. And I would argue that perhaps his greatest accomplishment in this term and this year has been what just happened, which is getting a ceasefire in the Middle East and getting those hostages returned. I maintain it's his business acumen that was a factor there, not only in negotiating the terms of the deal, but just not accepting the status quo. Can't point that out enough. That
I think it's more his willingness to show strength.
Well, yeah, but that's I think part of his business background. Yeah, absolutely. We're coming right back with Daniel Boggs.
Come on. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
All right, we are back
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Well studio. It's Daniel Boggs, the CEO, Greater Greenville Development Foundation. Hey, Daniel.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. All right, so tell us about the Delta Hot Tamale Festival. What's going on there?
14th Annual Delta Hot Tamale Festival in Greenville, Mississippi. Last year we were USA Today's top specialty food festival in the nation. I'm very excited about this year's event. We have 21 tamale vendors that will be participating in the festival this year, so 21 unique tamales. But we have 197 vendors total, with a lot of reunion row activity going on. Reunion row is sort of like a class reunion section we set up in front of the main strip, main stage. We have about 37 of those rented out this year, so getting ready for a fun-filled weekend. Mississippi State and Ole Miss are both playing away, so we're going to have a full house here in Greenville, Mississippi, where Blues Travelers will be the headlining act on Saturday night.
All right. So how does one get tickets?
Well, just show up to the festival. I'll be quite honest with you. We have the entrance gates to the festival. It completely encompasses the 200 block of Washington Avenue and Main Street. But we have the entrances. It's only $5 to get in, and that's both Friday and Saturday night. We got the welcome dinner at Hotel 27 tonight. Concerts start tomorrow at 4 o'clock and will take us to about 10 o'clock tomorrow night, and then all day Saturday.
All right. What else do we need to know?
Check us out at mainstreetgreenville.com. That will give you all the information regarding the event. All the ticketed items as far as the welcome dinner and the flavors of the festival, which is a tamale tasting and craft beer pairing for Saturday, has been sold out. So I'll be honest with you, if you're just now hearing about it or learning about it, you're not going to be able to get to any ticketed events, but you can come and enjoy the entire festival and all the activities. We're expecting 35,000 people in downtown Greenville this weekend, almost double the population in one weekend. So it's a huge economic impact for our community, injects almost $8 million into the local community. A lot of businesses rely on this to help make ends meet, so we're going to encourage you to get down here. A lot of people don't know what a tamale is. We'd love to educate you on that. And teach you about the culinary history of that and how it actually came to the Mississippi Delta. So just come, enjoy yourself, have a good time, and listen to some great music. And chances are you'll run into some of your friends around here. We have actually documented that we've had visitors from every state in the United States attend the festival at some point or another.
Yeah, so your point about the connection of the hot tamale to Greenville and the Delta in general is just kind of intriguing. It's not something I think you typically think about being associated with the area. Can you give us a little enlightenment there?
Yeah, no, I can. So it's still a mystery to us here in the Mississippi Delta. We are known as the hot tamale capital of the world. We had that designation bestowed upon us in 2012 when we started the Delta Hot Tamale Festival. But, whenever we start realizing, the tamale is an asset, and a cultural jewel that we have here in the Mississippi Delta, you kind of try to start connecting the pieces. But the thing is, again, nobody really knows. So there's three theories of how the tamale made it to the Mississippi Delta. One was whenever the migrant workers came to the Mississippi Delta to work the farm fields, they would actually put tamales in a coffee can or something, and most of the locals realized, hey, they have a hot meal for lunch, but sort of like a modern-day thermos. And they took to that and started creating their own style of tamales. The second one is that we stole it while we were in the Spanish-American War. While we were at war, we basically took the recipe and brought it back to the Mississippi Delta. And then the third theory is, and this was something that was actually brought to my attention much later, is that it was actually stolen from the African-American community from a dish called Kush, similar to the slug burger, but back in the older days whenever meat was hard to get, they would mix it in with the masa dough to kind of extend the meal and make it last a little bit longer. But again, that's the three theories. Nobody really knows for sure, but what we know is that we love tamales here in the Mississippi Delta.
No doubt about it. So, are there different vendors that will be on hand, Daniel, that will be preparing tamales with their own little special touch and flair?
Yes, and a lot of these vendors have honestly been preparing year round. They started preparing way back in early 2025, just because. One, it takes a lot of time to make a tamale. There's a lot of simmering and waiting and cooking, sort of like bread, letting it rise.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to have 21 tamale vendors. They're all different. You're going to have your traditional Spanish tamale, and that's wrapped in a banana leaf. So there's a lot of different varieties. The one that we have in the Mississippi Delta is traditionally wrapped in a corn husk. But you're going to see a spinach tamale, you're going to see a chicken tamale, you're going to see a pork tamale, you're going to see a beef brisket tamale. So, again, everybody kind of puts their own spin on each one of these tamales. We always say you never taste two tamales that are just similar. But, yeah, we're going to have that. We're also going to have a bunch of fair food, lemonade, stuff for the other people, too, if your tamales really isn't your forte. I think that right now we have 74 food vendors on slate.
Wow.
For this year's festival. So like I said, we really highlight the tamale, but there's a lot of food for anybody else.
So are most of these vendors, are they local to the area, to the Delta, that come out and provide their food?
You would be surprised. Actually, a lot of the vendors that come here are from outside of our area. We do have a lot of local vendors in regards to the tamales, again, because we're just the tamale capital of the world. But a study that we conducted with Mississippi State University a few years ago actually said that 74% of the people who attend the Delta Hot Tamale Festival drive more than 45 minutes to get here.
Wow.
We've had vendors as far as Washington, D.C. that have actually come down for this event. But a lot of them are, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, Arkansas. We've had a group come over from Texas several times and a group come down from Oklahoma.
Hey.
But, yeah, it's kind of within the Mississippi Delta region, but a lot of them do travel at least 45 minutes to get here.
That is impressive. To attract that
we
many
love our
people.
little festival here.
That's a pretty good deal. So what about the economic impact of the festival?
Yeah, so we're going to do another one pretty soon. But the last one that we conducted, of course, I think that we had about 32,000 individuals in Greenville that year, $8 million economic impact, which is huge whenever you talk about the actual cost of this festival. Now, it is an expensive festival for a Main Street organization. It's over $200,000 for us to put this festival on each and every year. But again, it has a huge impact on the local economy. Statistics show that every hotel room in Greenville and around Washington County are sold out, well in advance of the event. We come out and we say it's on the third weekend of October each and every year, so a lot of people do book their hotel rooms very early. I can say as a nonprofit organization, we own a little boutique hotel here in Greenville, Mississippi, and we're already taking reservations for 2028. We are completely booked up for 26 and 27. Now, it's only 36 rooms. But, a lot of people come here and spend their money, and we welcome it. The study also said that the average person spends about $244 a person. And, of course, they do travel in groups. The average group size was 6 individuals coming to the festival. So, it's a great event. We just had the new federal courthouse get finished being constructed here in the 200 block. So it's going to be a beautiful backdrop for this year's festival. It hasn't opened yet, but it's going to be a beautiful backdrop. It's kind of played off of the Pulitzer Prize winning book, Lanterns on the Levee. But, we encourage anybody who wants to have a good time to come on down and join us, because it is going to be an absolute blast for 2 days.
Sounds like it. So you'll have, I assume, beefed up security and law enforcement and so forth available?
Oh, yeah. So, safety and security is our number one priority. We have numerous meetings with police, fire department, first responders, ambulance. We actually even do a layout that if for some reason we have to get an ambulance into the festival, heaven forbid. I mean, a few times we've had people that have had a heat stroke. The weather's supposed to be wonderful this weekend. I think the high is supposed to be 78.
Yeah.
But our layout is even conducive to respond to an emergency as quickly as possible. But we have the full city of Greenville's police force, Washington County. We even have private security walking around in plain clothes. We do have sky cameras, skycop cameras, aerial cameras that go 30, 40 feet in the air. So we do keep a very good, close watch on the entire festival.
Gotcha.
And I say that because my family's going to be down here too. I have two small girls. And we want to provide a fun environment. We want to provide a safe environment.
Sounds great.
So, and that's part of the reason we have the entrance gate. So,
appreciate it. Daniel Boggs, CEO, Greater Greenville Development Foundation, talking about the Hot Tamale Festival in the Delta. Thanks.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
Now, on to the real part.
Dynamite!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Woo!
Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was going to be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man. 21. I want you to believe me, baby. I have lots of fun. I'm a man. I spell him H-I-N.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio. So I'm getting lectured here about my comment about Charlie Kirk's Christian faith and the way he comported his life. I just happen to believe that those who live a good life in accordance with God's teachings and the biblical doctrine are in way better shape to get their eternal reward than those who don't. That's my view. That's my opinion. And people are sending me stuff, and that's fine. I appreciate that. Derek in Greenwood, and I don't know who the other one was, but yeah, I get it. Only by Jesus. But my belief is when you present yourself to Jesus, if you have lived a good Christian life, that again your prospects of entering heaven are significantly enhanced relative to someone who doesn't. That's my belief.
I think the Protestant belief is more of saved by grace, and grace doesn't have any requirements.
So you can just be a serial killer, murderous thug, and sure, that's up to God.
If you repent and ask Jesus Christ to be your Savior and Lord, then yeah. But if you do that, then you wouldn't be a serial killer. I mean, if you did that after you were a serial killer,
right?
You get into a theological debate,
right? But then there's the sincerity aspect of that as well.
Yeah, it's not fire insurance.
Yeah, I understand. So, how about this? Just live a good life. I think Charlie Kirk lived a good life and spread a good message and imparted that wisdom on a lot of people, and for that he's to be commended. And I think God looks down and says, "Yeah, it's a good man." That's my view. The first man to enter heaven after Jesus was the thief on the cross. Okay, well that's I believe. My belief is because Jesus said, "Yeah, this person's truly repentant." Right? I think that's what those of us who believe that when you are sincere and you ask for forgiveness and you have true remorse and you're sorry for something bad you did, in this case, you're a thief. Yeah, but that's the call of the Lord exclusively. But I think that's consistent with what is taught, though, what he tells us. But again, sincerity is key there. And we as humans can't figure that out. We can speculate, we can guess, and to some extent, we do that in our legal systems, do we not? Right? Parole, for example, granting of parole, that'll be considered. How have you conducted yourself since you've been incarcerated? And do the parole board, do they believe you're truly rehabilitated and fit to reenter society? The problem is, as you know, we call that wrong sometimes. And heck, if it were up to Zoran Mondami, we wouldn't have any jails and we wouldn't incarcerate anybody. Right? That's what they believe, which is insanity. Yeah. So, all right. So, okay. I get it, folks. I think that, again, I'm just going to say, live your life well. Live your life good. And I believe that will be recognized. That's my opinion. I'm pretty sure that's the central message in the Bible. All of the Scripture and all of the teachings, the parables, etc., all kind of point to that same principle, which is to live your life as a good person. So somebody said, somebody asked our opinion. Do you guys have an opinion on some of the peculiar facts around Charlie Kirk's death? Like, for example, that his security force was all ready for the fact that they saw his neck bone stop the .30-06 round there with no ballistics test, no crime scene tape, no autopsy. Just curious, what do you think? I don't really have any thoughts about it. I hadn't really considered it. I think it was just an act of evil by a deranged individual that was able to plan out what turned out to be a horrific, brutal, evil assassination of whom I believe was a good person. Well, we're stepping aside for a break. It's Fox News, SuperTalk News, coming right back with 2 hours of Middays. Stay with us.
Of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, another hour of the talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Begin your transition now.
Now on SuperTalk Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio on this
Friday.
Oh, yeah, man. We are here ready to go. Hour 2 of the program today on In a Mississippi Minute with Steve Azar. You'll hear an interview with entrepreneur and philanthropist Chad Yeed. Don't forget to go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. 601-879-4395. That would be the C Spire text line. Quick check of your money. The funny money keeps on falling down there. Rhino, what the heck's going on? It's down below 110,000. The Dow, it was looking good earlier. It has shed its gains. It's now in negative territory. So is the NASDAQ. Still a whole bunch of concern among traders over traders as in investor traders over the trade debacle this country is experiencing with China. These tensions over the rare earth controls are really causing some tension as well and stress within the investment community. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, announced that the government's going to take a position, can't remember the name of the company, starts with an M, a rare earth company that's a domestic one. They're going to take a position on it, and rare earth minerals purchased by the federal government, mainly in the Department of Defense, from domestic companies, will be subject to a price floor, meaning you can't sell it for an amount below that. I think that's an effort to put some pressure there on China. Really something, what's going on. But China just doesn't seem to have any interest in conceding, that I can tell, in this trade war. And they've figured out that they can use their supply of rare earth materials to exert some pressure on this country to negotiate some sort of end to this trade tension. But the president certainly at this point has not indicated any interest in backing off of the position that he has maintained for some time regarding China and our trade with the communist country. So I don't see any breakthrough in sight. Speaking of breakthrough, what about the government No breakthrough there as well. I think for the 9th time. Check me out on that. I heard that on the way in this morning. Vote 9 to reopen the government in the U.S. Senate also failed. So here
they voted again.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So just doesn't seem like that there's any end in sight to this standoff between Republicans and Democrats in Washington. The House isn't even in session. So you got the Senate that's working on it. I don't know. Who's gonna blink, I guess, is the question at this point. It doesn't seem like that either side are interested in doing anything to bring a close to the standoff, is what it appears as of the 9th vote. Really interesting. I will share this. I caught this on the way home yesterday, a fairly lengthy press conference where the president and FBI director Kash Patel provided an update on crackdown on crime by the Trump administration. So I guess I'll kind of preface that by saying...
Yeah, I just refreshed it, and 23 minutes ago it failed for the 10th vote.
Oh, pardon me. So we have a 10th. I missed it. I didn't get any... It's not even newsworthy anymore. I got the notification on the 9th, so it just failed again. And I got the Business Channel on here in the studio, as I always do. They haven't reported anything on but a 10th attempt. Wow. Interesting. So the president and Kash Patel, again, provided an update with lots of fantastic, detailed information. But back to the preface that I started there, before you told us that we just had a 10th attempt that went down in flames. Is there anything more fundamental as a responsibility of government than to protect the people governed? I mean, if there's anything that is worthy of our contribution to the federal treasury, to our state coffers, is to ensure that our life, our property, our family are protected, or safe, or secure, or not overrun by bad people, criminals who seek to take life, destroy property, wreak havoc, interfere with normal society. And the president and Kash Patel, the FBI director, announced that they've made 629 arrests, seized 2,261 illegal firearms, a mind-boggling 421 kilograms of fentanyl, 45,000 kilograms of cocaine. And that's just since June. An 86% increase in arrests of violent criminals in comparison to Joe Biden's administration. In 7 months, federal law enforcement arrested a record 28,600 violent criminals, according to FBI Director Kash Patel. He says, quote, "This is what happens when you take out the weaponization. This number is historic by every metric. 28,000 people have been arrested. Violent felons alone. Man, that's incredible." Kash Patel said in the Oval Office. Really is mind-boggling. And kudos to, and looking at a chart, by the way, that reflects back to, I think it's 2021. It's a line chart just showing the number of arrests through time. And it's flat, 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 flat. Then it's just straight up to the right there, showing the two last administrations, the current administration, the last administration, I should say, their record on arresting violent people, violent criminals. And it's real simple. This president shares that view, I believe, that, yeah, this is a fundamental responsibility of government. And by the way, if you think about the rights that we are granted by our Creator as enumerated in our founding document, that we are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you can't have either if you're overrun with crime. In the prior administration, first they couldn't get get the language right there. The way the draft is actually published indelibly, the former president struggled to recite it, which is mind-boggling. But fundamentally didn't believe that. They were more concerned about implementing their little DEI goals than anything else. So that means, oh, wait, if we arrest that person, that throw our DEI stats out of whack. Oh, just let them go. I mean, I really do feel like some of that was going on, so they could go back to the various demographics and could say, look, we've changed the balance, the disparities here. Yeah, but people are out committing crime, hurting other people, taking their property, destroying it, and so forth. Since 2021, just looking at the chart, 16,000, 17 and 22, 15, 23, 15, 24, 28 in 25. Wow. So this is really good news to me to see that this president, again, is focused on it. And it's not like he didn't tell us that this was going to be an area of focus for his presidency. The FBI arrested between 15,000 and 17,000 throughout the Biden tenure, and already this year, with a couple of months remaining, 2.5 months remaining, this president has arrested 28,000 just violent felons. That's just mind-boggling. And then, of course, seized all this dope as well. So great job, I thought, done by FBI Director Kash Patel in his presentation yesterday. Coming right back.
We've sent that rip van.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
It is
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. We appreciate you being with us on the C Spire Text Line. Gerard, what do you think about the ADL's contention that saying Christ is King is anti-Semitic? I'm not really sure that the ADL has a purpose anymore, would be my opinion. I don't know. I think it's... I don't see how they come up with that. Is what my contention is. I don't see how that could be perceived as anti-Semitic, and I think that's part of the problem here. Is how exactly do you define what is anti-Semitic? We're unfortunately live in a society where we're hypersensitive to words. I don't think those words, no matter what they say, are anti-Semitic. And I mean, I recognize that people of the Jewish faith don't believe that Christ is the Savior. I get it. And so...
Unless they're a Messianic Jew.
Right. And so when they see that statement that Christians believe that Christ is King, that, I guess, crosses the line for them. I don't see how that's anti-Semitic. It's just...
The ADL contends that it's an anti-Semitic dog whistle.
No, that's ridiculous in my view, honestly. I think they're much bigger fish to fry. I tell you what's anti-Semitic is if you say, yeah, I support Israel. Okay, on your knees, off with your head. That, I would say, is anti-Semitic. Right? Christians saying Christ is king? No. That's just exercising their rights. Freedom of religion and the right to participate in the faith of your choice. I'm pretty sure that had a lot to do with the founding of the country. So I think it's ridiculous, honestly. Let's see. So somebody else said, I believe it's the 10th vote, unfortunately. Jason in Starkville, how did it compare to his first term? I don't know. I didn't see the statistics talking about the arrests. And I'm not sure the president focused on it in his first term the way he did in the second term. And I think that's largely because crime got so pronounced under Biden. I mean, again, all got sort of kicked off in President Trump's final year with the George Floyd stuff, and that got crazy. And it wasn't even the final year; it was the final few months because that happened, as I recall, in May of 2020. But that again caused the Democrats, the left, Joe Biden in this country to just lurch way out there to the left, just lean hard into this whole narrative of, well, we got to reimagine the police. We got to stop arresting people. We got to send social workers out when there are dangerous situations in progress and people got guns pointed at each other. They just need a social worker to take care of that. And defunding the police, and Kamala Harris raising money for those arrested for committing crime during the riots that swept the country after the George Floyd incident. Yeah, it just seems like that ramped up, intensified significantly, certainly over the first 3.5 years of President Trump's first term, and it got out of control because Joe Biden did look the other way. Something else that's got to point out that Director Patel mentioned yesterday, Rhino, and it makes so much sense. He said, the biggest thing is we have a president that says, I got your back. Because and your father being in law enforcement, you know that they're always thinking about that. They're always sensitive about, because they do have authority. It's been entrusted to them. They do have the ability to impose and use force as they deem necessary. But a lot of times they're making split-second decisions on that, right?
I mean, just look at the reaction from the Biden administration and Democrat officials to the quote-unquote whipping incident with the Border Patrol on the Rio Grande. That's
a great example. Yeah. They got exposed and just it got milked as well by the media. Look at them here. And it was complete horse hockey, as you know, and a complete fabrication. So, of course, that spreads like wildfire throughout the law enforcement community, and then they get nervous about just doing their dang job for fear that doing their job might have negative consequences. But this president says, we got your back. And Patel said that yesterday. Yeah, my people feel like that they've been empowered again to do what they hired on to do, what they get paid to do, what they've been trained to do, what the American people want them to do, which is keep us safe, get the bad people out of here. And once again, it's a small component of our population that's causing all this hell, all the chaos, ruining it for everybody else, just as what happened here in Mississippi last week, over the weekend, with a small number of people that acted foolishly, violently, wickedly. And now we got Mississippi High School Activities Association recommending just cancel all your tailgate activities. And so that now we're deprived of some of these experiences we should have in the interest of safety. And I'm not really being critical of those who are recommending that. I do feel like that maybe the couple of districts, and I only know of two at this point, that have said, yeah, we canceled everything. I'm sure there are more, and maybe we're not aware of that, but everything as far as tailgating and activities are concerned, this is crazy. I feel like we're letting the criminals win in that situation. And I hope that's rethought, and we certainly don't do that. By the way, FBI Director Kash Patel referred to something the FBI labeled Operation Summer Heat, a 3-month FBI initiative that targeted violent crime in major U.S. cities. And then, of course, the president sending in the National Guard to these various cities as well to get them stabilized and cleaned up. Democrats pushing back on that. No, there's no problem here. It's just mind-boggling that could even go on. I'm really worried about this nutcase Mamdani, who is looking to just reshape the Big Apple, New York City, and he has come out and apologized to the New York Police Department because he's figured he's got to work with them, but I don't think it's changed his view and his opinion and his agenda. So you're going to have another situation where the New York City police officers are going to really be hesitant, reluctant to just enforce the law. He's also got a $10 billion agenda of socialist freebies, does this nutcase. Let's see here. What else we got?
I was just trying to find the FBI crime reporting statistics, and it looks like arrests dropped by 30% starting in 2020 and stayed level, which was the level point that started the chart you were talking about with Kash Patel. And, so they dropped by 30% under the Biden administration. Well, starting in 2020 with the COVID, and then they didn't release any data in 2021, but in 2022 and 2023, they were pretty much level at that 30% decrease.
So what concerns me, and I think clear-thinking people would agree, is that it was intentional. It was deliberate. I really do believe that. And it was in the interest of all this DEI stuff. So rather than trying to solve and address the root cause of this problem, which, just have to be honest, is excessive in the black community, rather than trying to address that and identify the root cause and maybe craft some solutions, some remedies. No, okay, we won't arrest them even though they committed a crime. It's this, you could say that across the landscape of just different realms and areas in education, right? The diluting of standards in education to a great extent. Eliminating the gifted and talented programs in the K through 12. And by the way, Mamdani says he's going to get rid of that in New York as well. Coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
You know what that means.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
We'll do it live
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Back with you in the Element Wealth studio with the great Tom Petty. Let's see, on the C Spire text line, Gloria from Clinton, regarding the unfortunate events of the past weekend, let's not overlook the fact that our law enforcement agents did an outstanding job in apprehending the culprits. my thanks to them for a job well done, sure. And we have also certainly recognized those apprehensions earlier in the week and agree. Our law enforcement, I think, did excellent in such a short period of time, honestly, in identifying the bad guys here and getting them off the streets. It's just unfortunate, so unfortunate that this sort of stuff is happening. It's even, I think, more disturbing to me, at least, when it's at a high school, college. Those are just not the kind of environments, settings you would expect to see this, and it's so antithetical to what the purpose of high school education, college education, sporting competition between the schools, teams, their fans, their families, schools themselves all come together just to partake in what should be entertainment and fun. And it gets ruined by idiots. Really bad. Yeah, Jay from the Rest says Rush is going back on tour with a female drummer. Yeah, I saw that announcement, and I've tracked the young lady on the drums. She's amazing. She's outstanding, and that's pretty good to see. Pretty neat. On the C Spire text line, it's not anti-Semitic to be against the government of Israel. Well, sure, I agree. I would say it's not anti-American to have issues with the government of the United States. That's in fact, I would say that's deeply American, deeply rooted in our freedoms, our right to redress our government. That is very, very much core to our rights under the Bill of Rights, under our Constitution. Totally agree. That is a different level. And that's why I think, again, it's just hard to define what that is. Now, in some systems, i.e. Korea, China, communist regimes, not just that, but Sharia, right? Under those systems, any criticism is met with severe consequences, such as loss of your life.
And not in a nice way.
Right, exactly. In a more,
like in North Korea, they're going to strap you back first to the front of a howitzer and bang.
Incredible. And we've talked many times on the program about how we've seen traditional Western nations who you would think would share the values of freedom that we do in this country, specifically the UK, where they're going out and locking people up for stuff they put on Twitter. Unbelievable that that's going on. Make no mistake, there are people in this country that want to do the same dang thing. And we got to keep them out of power.
Certain Hillary Clinton was one of them.
Yeah, she absolutely was. And you know Mondami will be in there. So, yeah, it's kind of disturbing. Now, got to pass this on. Really good news out of the Supreme Court. And it looks like that the court is going to rule on the redistricting case. It's really a voting rights case. They appear to be ready as of yesterday to hollow out a key tool of the Voting Rights Act, which I think was misguided to start with, maybe needed initially when it was passed, 50 years or so ago? More than that a little bit, I think. But this is likely to boost Republican prospects, especially here in the South. 2.5 hours of arguments.
61 years ago, 1964.
Okay, so it's more than 50 years ago. That's right, 64. Yeah. They passed a law in 64 to give those who ain't got a little more as the that's just the way it is, tuned by Bruce Hornsby.
Even farther back than that, it was 60. The Civil Rights Act of 1960 dealt with voter registration, polls, and all that stuff.
And then didn't 64, was there something related, some amendments,
64
additions?
was the labor law. Civil Rights Act of 64 dealt with outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin.
Okay. See, I thought it had been sort of enhanced, and you're right. So 60 and then 64. All right. So 2.5-hour arguments. And this, by the way, is a case that originated in our neighbor to the west, Louisiana. And the courts basically are striking down, talking about the Supreme Court, what is a black majority congressional district because it was drawn that way based on race. How could you not say that that's biased and discriminatory in nature? So there looks like there's going to be a ruling coming out of the Supreme Court that's going to say that states can't draw districts based on race, which we could argue we have one here in the state of Mississippi. District 2, Congressional District 2, represented by Benny Thompson. Been there since 1993. And it is hooked and crooked and lined and scribbled and squabbled and curved, pointed. To come up with that district, it's crazy. And, of course, historically, you've always had to be careful, have states, when they draw these districts for fear that the Department of Justice would come down and say, no, you got to have more black people in there, right? That's essentially what's been going on. Rather than just considering geography just based on that makes sense without all the effort on the number of people that are supposed to be in a district. I've said before, let's just use random number generators to come up with some coordinates to draw boundaries. Boom, there you go. There's 750,000 in that one. I think that's at the current size of a congressional district in this country. And that requires amendment. When we take a census, we take the total census, divide it by that number, and say, boom, that's how many you get, state. 750, 735, something like that?
761, 169.
Okay. All right, thanks. So I was close, but you know.
I was just trying to find the law that, because the AI says that Mississippi allows for mid-decade redistricting, and I was trying to find the law on it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because if that's the case, then I'm fairly certain if it gets struck down, there's going to be a major conversation about redistricting in the upcoming legislative session.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So
much to the chagrin, I would imagine, of the Democrat Party.
Yeah. So, it was just a couple of years ago, the court heard a case in Alabama about some of the districts drawn there and said that their districts violated the way they had drawn them Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. In other words, you got to draw those districts with more black folks in them, so you end up with a different representation that may not accurately reflect the population, the citizens, the voters of said state. So that's what's going on here, and this is going to ever be met with some resistance by the Democrats. And I'm looking right now at a photo. I believe this was from yesterday, if not, I think it was yesterday, but it could have been Tuesday. And it's activists that are out in front of the Supreme Court. And it looks like it's largely African-American folks, and they're holding signs that say Black Voters Matter. Okay, agree. You get to vote. Nobody's ruling here or arguing that you don't have the right to vote. Of course we recognize that.
Yeah, I found it. It's in the Constitution. Article 13, the legislature shall at its regular session in the second year following the census every 10 years thereafter and may at any other time by joint resolution by majority vote of all members of each house, apportion the state in accordance with the Constitution of the state and of the United States into consecutively numbered senatorial and representative districts of contiguous territory.
Okay. So maybe we'll get some redrawing here, huh? Might draw Benny out. Oh, boy. Yeah. We're coming right back.
Polyupa, Mississippi.
Check it out. Let's do this.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. So, earlier I was just talking about the fundamental responsibility of government is to keep us safe. I completely believe that. Not only is it a fundamental responsibility, it is impossible to have a thriving economy, to innovate, to address the problems facing humanity, to improve the quality of life, to provide opportunity, if you can't be safe. If you're living your life in constant fear and you're making decisions, taking actions, refraining from doing lots of things because you fear for your safety, we're going to get pounded down to a much lower standard of living, period. It's fundamental. And that's why I believe, having recognized that when our country was founded, why we have passed up all the other countries by orders of magnitude. Now, on the other hand, I got to share this with you. The Democrats in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, some Democrat Party volunteers had a little exhibit around the Democratic headquarters office up there. And then they also had one at the Oshkosh Farmers Market in Wisconsin. And they're handing out bracelets. Have you seen this with the inscription, "Is he dead yet?" referring to the president? Do Democrats just love death and violence? It seems like it.
When it's directed towards their opponents.
Ah, okay. Well, but they justify it even when it's not their opponents, right? You're burning down a building and ransacking the assets inside it, pillaging them as well.
That's where you get into the sticky situation of defining opponents for different factions of the left.
That's true. You're right about that.
You go far enough to the left, their opponents are Americans.
You're right. And I guess they would view these, and I'm just referring to stores and shops because that's just so prevalently broadcast in the various video capturing
that would be an
the
example
carnage
of capitalism
exactly.
as the opponent.
Totally agree. I've often thought that was one of the factors in striking the Twin Towers. It's kind of a symbol of capitalism. And they loathe it. They being the terrorists from the radical Muslim sect. Fort Hays State University psychology professor. She's been put on leave, and well, she should, because after she learned of the ID of Charlie Kirk's killer, she said American white men are the most dangerous animals on the planet. What is up with these people?
They're deeply unwell and even more so unhappy.
Oh, and she gives this standard word salad, grandiloquent, language-infested statement here, Rhino. My scholarship and teaching reflect a commitment to justice and inclusion. I welcome diverse perspectives in my classroom and remain committed to creating a space where every student feels seen, heard, and respected. Do they just pass that same statement around and move the words around a little bit? It's
because
the same
you can pretty
crap.
much guarantee if a student walked into her classroom wearing a MAGA hat, they would not feel respected by her response.
And that's the problem, is it not? Because the words here that she puts out there making it sounded so virtuous. I may think a certain way, but I'm open to all viewpoints. And no, that won't affect how I treat you in the classroom, especially when it comes to grading. Horse hockey, it's happening every day in our state, by the way. And that's based on direct conversations I've had with students. It angers me, as you can tell. I can't even comprehend this, how we got here, that your political and philosophical, your worldview affects your grades. I can't comprehend it. I really can't. Yet, these are the people that maintain that we're not tolerant. They are. Unbelievable. We're going to step aside for a break. It's Fox News, SuperTalk News, and then the afternoon portion of Middays kicks off with Marie Sanderson, former policy director for the Republican Governors Association and a GOP strategist.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Winter is here again, oh Lord. I've been home in a year or more. I hope she holds on a little longer.
Welcome back, everyone. It is hour 3, the afternoon portion of Middays. We are live from the Element Wealth studio on this
Friday Eve.
We welcome now Marie Sanderson, a former policy director for the Republican Governors Association and a GOP strategist. Hey, Marie, good to see you.
Hey, Gerard, I'm well. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. So, a whole bunch of stuff going on. We've been talking about it. You may have caught us just before we went to break there, trying to understand what makes these Democrats tick, man. we can't figure out. I like to say, after the president made a great presentation, he and his FBI director, Kash Patel, just updating us on their efforts to combat crime in this country, and in particular violent crime, that it feels like the Democrats have seen fit to decriminalize crime and vilify the victims. I mean, it's just an upside-down world. How important is this that we seem to be getting a grip on this wave of crime in the country? The president's not backing down.
No, he's not backing down. It's critically important. He ran on this. This was very important and central to his campaign. And by the way, Americans want this. It's very popular. So you do have Democrats that are frustrated with those in their party or those who align themselves with the party by saying that going hard on crime is bad. So, look, this is a losing issue for the Democrats. I'm unsure why they keep leaning in and pushing back against the president. He's doing this because it was a campaign promise, but it's actually very popular. It's what Americans want him to be doing.
It strikes me, honestly, Marie, as somewhat puzzling that there's even a discussion about this. I mean, it's fundamental You're the commander-in-chief. You're the chief executive officer of the country. You got 340 million people that are relying on you to keep them safe. Why is this even a contentious issue?
It shouldn't be contentious. And, the only reason it's contentious is because he is pushing the envelope like he's done since day one of his administration, and he's using the National Guard. And this administration, you can take any issue that he's touched, and by the way, he will touch. He's not slowing down. He thinks outside the box about how to solve the problem. And we're seeing it time and time again. So they're just frustrated that he's figured out a way to deal with this in cities that need it, and he's getting results.
And we could say the same thing, could we not, Marie, about the border, which it's not even in the news anymore. I talk all the time about that during the Biden tenure. Rhino and I'd be sitting in the studio. I'd have the television on, and every day, right there, video of just thousands streaming across. Here's another group coming in. They're like, well, we have laws that say you can't do that. But we had a president and an administration that looked the other way.
They did, and we now have a Secretary Noem, who spends a lot of time focusing on this with her team. You have border governors like Governor Abbott, who spent a lot of time of it, and you have a president, to your point, that's enforcing the law. And so now we're not hearing about it, which is a good thing. They're going to stay on top of it, and Americans know that he is. And that, again, another campaign promise that was popular that he's delivering on.
But just again, and I applaud the president for it, and I'm grateful that he did. It's crazy to me you even have to promise that. Hey, I promise I'm going to enforce the law. That just sounds silly to me. If you like me president, I promise I'll make sure that we abide by the law. Can we argue about something else, like maybe tax rates or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're making a great point. I mean, securing the borders should be in the same bucket as protecting our country and eliminating crime. And it's what Americans want. It's a basic right for being an American to have these types of protections. And it shouldn't be something that we argue about. Again, I think Democrats, right now they don't have anyone that's a messenger for them. They have a lot of dogs and cats that, I heard you in the earlier segment talking about someone who wasn't in office, but, is certainly sounding like a Democrat, and her views represent, what we think of Democrats. So without a leader at the top who's offering common sense ideas on these two issues, people are going to continue to think that Democrats have no real solution for something that should be bipartisan.
You're right. Sure does seem like it. Now, we've got some elections coming up, certainly at the federal level next year. And the balance of power, of course, always at stake, with the House up every 2 years. And one of our U.S. senators, of course, as well, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, running for re-election. The Democrats seem to be smelling a little bit of blood in the water and are willing to throw some money into the race, in particular Senator Hyde-Smith's race. What do you think?
Well, look, I think midterms are always a situation where the party that's not in the White House feels like they have a real opportunity to have, what we call a wave. So they're looking for this blue wave, if you will. I'm not so sure they're going to get the blue wave. And there are a couple of reasons for that, and we should continue to talk about this over the next several months and into next year. But again, I just said that the Democrats have no real messenger, no real leader that is providing any type of bellwether on what they should be saying on various issues. Clearly, this shutdown in Congress is Schumer's way and Speaker Jeffries' way. Not Speaker Jeffries, excuse me. I did not mean to say that. Leader Jeffries. He wants to be, clearly their way to show that they have some type of spine and a backbone or standing up against Republicans. But again, with no leader, it'll be interesting to see if they can get through to the electorate. The other thing is the president continues to get really great things done. He is having measurable outcomes, and he has the bully pulpit, and he'll continue to message. It also will have to do with candidate recruitment. Do they recruit people that people want to vote for. Is the person running against Cindy Hyde-Smith really someone that we in Mississippi will vote for? I mean, time will tell. I mean, I'm a big fan of Cindy Hyde-Smith and think she's doing a great job, and I think she's going to win that race. If they want to spend a lot of money here and not in other states, I don't want that, but if it keeps them from playing ball in other states, go ahead and waste your money on Cindy Hyde-Smith. Yeah. You're not going to beat her. She's doing a great job, and Mississippians are proud of her. Yeah, I think you're right about that. So, you were talking, and you're so right. You're talking about what appears to be a vacuum of leadership in the Democrat Party. I've described them as, with the old metaphor, they're just a boat out at sea without a paddle. Nothing to navigate seems to be the case. Here's the difference, though, in my view, and get you to your take on this, Marie. This president doesn't seek attention from what he says. He seeks it from what he does. And the actions, for example, of monumental ceasefire and possibly even lasting peace in the Middle East there with Israel and Hamas, but more importantly, on an immediate basis, getting those hostages back, and the great just joy and satisfaction we all felt, and him behind the scenes, you could see with that good feeling on his face that, I did something good here, and he's to be commended for that. But all we get, as you said, out of Hakeem Jeffries is word salads that they can't even get out of his mouth correctly. It's no action. There's no action. The president is showing action, to your point, time and time again. He's moving from issue to issue. He's a machine. While he was in the Middle East, I think he was awake for over 36 hours. And by the way, was available for press the entire time. He's never hiding from the press, sharing what he's doing, defending his team. And he has, become a world leader for sure, constantly moving from issue to issue while dual tracking issues that are important at home. And so I think, look, it's almost whiplash. It's whiplash for all of us, right? Even those who support him. The speed at which he is getting things done, it's hard to catch up. It's a 24-hour cycle, even on weekends. A lot of the big stuff he accomplishes, are on Friday nights, and he just doesn't stop. And I think, again, for the Democrats, without a leader and not a message and without action, it's hard to see how they'll have that blue wave a year from now. So we got a break right here. If you can hang around, we keep talking. I want to cover a couple of other subjects. But I'll leave this thought with you. It's my opinion that what shows here, what's highlighted here, is his business background and business acumen, because when you're in that world, you don't work on a time clock. You can't. You don't know when you've got to act, react, make decisions, and he demands and expects that of his team, just like any business executive generally would. And by the way, he's right there with them. He doesn't say, okay, here's what I want you to do. I'm going. I'll come right back and have it done for me. He doesn't do that. It seems like a lot of these career politicians, i.e. Joe Biden, I only work between this hour and that hour. That's the key difference here. We're coming right back. We'll keep talking with Maurice Sanderson. Stay with us.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Welcome to our shop
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Okay, now you have a good one.
Find the light that got you through a cloudy day. When the stars.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth studio. Thanks for joining us. We're talking to Maurice Sanderson, a GOP strategist. So, again, this is a president, as you point out, that is like the old Energizer Bunny, as they say, and you've heard people in his inner circle. Even left-leaning media have acknowledged that. that he's a hard person to keep up with, that he's always going. But I just shared before we went to break, it's my opinion that is largely stems from him being a business person and being accustomed to have to work outside of some dogmatic, rigid schedule. Just, hey, we got to get something done. And, okay, we did that one. We're not taking a break. We got to move on to the next one because, you know what? Our competition's out there working on it. In business, I think he's applied sort of the same kind of scheduling concept here. What do you think, Marie?
I completely agree. I mean, people have acknowledged that he would not have been able to bring peace to the Middle East if he was not thinking like a business person. And not just over the last, week or two, but the way he's approached things just generally, Iran, others, as far as his posture, is willing to take risks. He does that because he thinks like a businessman. And I think you're seeing that over his entire agenda. But sure, he operates, Energizer Bunny is a great analogy. He operates at a campaign speed all the time. It's like he never left the campaign. Yeah. A lot of times we see an elected official campaign and work and then move into what I like to call government hours. Yeah. To your point at the end of the last segment, he's never, ever moved into what's called government hours.
Yeah. Doesn't even think about that, honestly. I mean, it's just not in his DNA. All right, let's talk about the old shutdown. I'll make this point that, of course, both sides of the major parties are blaming the other. That's to be expected. It still remains to be seen what the public thinks. But you being a strategist, you being around the campaign world for a long time, eventually we'll get this thing solved. And by the time we get to the elections a year from now, people won't even remember it, is what I think. Marie, your thoughts?
They're not going to remember it. Look, both sides think they're winning. They're talking to their electorate. They're with polls. Republicans think that this is unnecessary and that the Americans are going to blame the Democrats for shutting down the government. There have been 10 votes that the Democrats have rejected, and they have that, and they're messaging on that, and they have the White House to be their microphone of what they're doing. The Democrats, on the other hand, think that this is about health care. And that once people see their premiums rise in November, that they'll blame Republicans for premiums rising. Republicans argue that the people who elected them want them to get healthcare spending under control, and maybe there's to be some changes to that program, and that the government shutdown should not be about healthcare. There are a number of other themes, but the Democrats, in my view, are using the shutdown to try and become relevant. We will see if they're successful. That's the only reason that there is a shutdown, is so Democrats can hopefully become relevant at some point and look like they stood up to Republicans. That's the only reason why they're doing this. To your point about timing, it's going to go on for a while. We're going to have people miss paychecks, services stop happening. This White House has been very creative in finding funds to provide paychecks for certain essential workers, and they've done that through some of the money that's coming in from tariffs, as well as a really savvy OMB director and Russ Vought. He's been able to kind of move money around. But people are going to start to feel this, and at some point this plane is going to have to land, and they're going to have to solve the shutdown.
Yeah, the president, to your point, announced earlier in the week a creative approach to making sure the members of our armed forces, if anybody deserves to get paid, they got to be at the top of the list, that they're compensated. But I think this is it. We only can accommodate this one payroll. Everything I'm reading says, when this thing rolls around in 2 weeks, we got to come up with a different plan. This isn't going to take us through 2 payrolls.
That's right. You're exactly right. There's not enough money to go around to pay everyone. You will start to feel pain depending on what government service you rely upon. It will happen. And then obviously, again, the healthcare issue. People who go to get new healthcare on the exchange will see a variance in their premiums.
Yeah, and I think that the Democrats are holding out that those notifications are going to be going out with the open enrollment period kicking off November 1, and they're going to get this notification of a rise in their premiums. And you know as well as I do, Marie, a lot of people, they're not paying attention to what's going on with respect to that, and they're going to get this kind of shock in the mail in the form of a notification seeing what I paid last year versus what it's going up to next year. And they're going to start asking questions. They're not going to know who to blame for that one way or another. It's like, wait, what happened here? And I think the Democrats are holding out hope that those people are going to say, yeah, the mean old Republicans did that to you.
Well, like everything, it was supposed to be a temporary increase for certain people at certain income levels, right? It was during COVID. And as the saying goes, it's hard to take away a benefit,
no doubt,
right?
Yeah.
But in reality, some of this needs to be rolled back. There are people at certain income levels that are receiving these subsidies that maybe shouldn't or should see it tweaked, and that's the Republicans' argument. Not that there shouldn't be health care for certain people, but maybe we should take another look at this since we're not in the middle of COVID anymore when this policy was set.
You know, one thing I was curious about, and I did research this, is whether or not the state of Mississippi could just exit the ACA exchange program. And the law actually requires all 50 states have to participate. So you can't just say, hey, we're out. I mean, it's not that it consumes state dollars, because it doesn't. All the subsidies come from the federal government. It's not like Medicaid, which is a jointly funded program. But 24 million signed up in the exchanges. Of course, you know this, the rolls swelled substantially when the subsidies went up. A lot of people came off the sideline and said, but man, this is a huge problem. There are no easy solutions to this, no matter how you look at it. You know that, but you also know that according to law, folks are going to get health care whether they get paid for it or whether they pay for it or not. And so, of course, the providers look for a way to pass those costs on to somebody. Usually that's me and you that are paying for the commercial premiums.
That's right. That's right. There was very little flexibility. I mean, back in the day, President Obama told Governors Bryant and even before that, Barber, you can create your own exchange or you can default to the federal government.
Yeah.
So states across the board mostly defaulted to the federal government. I mean, it's prickly. So if we eliminate the exchanges, where do those people go? Do they go to Medicaid, which are state dollars, as you know, mostly?
Yeah.
I mean, Mississippi gets a larger fair share of federal dollars than most, but yeah, I mean, these people are going to get benefits. It's just what's the right program for a certain income level. Republicans are really high on work requirements, which I personally support. I know you do too. And then the other thing that's becoming maybe easier because of AI is verification. Who are these people? You have a lot of people on rolls that may not even be alive, that may not know they're on
Huge
rolls.
problem.
So, where states are working really hard. Yeah.
Or as you know, dual or enrolled in multiple states, and we're paying third parties to manage that, and they get paid whether that person truly is a resident of that state receiving benefits or not. We're still paying for it out of federal and state dollars. Before we go, we got the session coming up, 2026, a subject that is near and dear to you and me is school choice, and I bring that one up because the Speaker of the House has indicated that's his top priority, not so much over there on the Senate. Where do you see this going, Marie?
Well, personally, I'm a supporter of school choice. I've seen it across the country. I've worked in policy over the years. I've also worked for the state. I support public education. My children are in private school, but my husband and I, are very supportive of public education in Ocean Springs. We contribute to the annual public school fundraisers as well as private school fundraisers. I've just seen that it works to give a parent a choice of where to send their kid. Whether that's a different public school. It doesn't always have to be to a private school. In many cases, in most cases, actually, it's just giving a child a flexibility to go to a different public school. But it does work. It's worked in surrounding states. I think if we have more conversations, we can bring more people along and know that we're not going to dismantle our great public education system in Mississippi.
100% well said. Had that conversation with some folks today that came into the conversation being opposed to it and hopefully felt a little better about it after we explained. And in fact, GOP Chairman Mike Hurst was at the breakfast with me. It was just a social breakfast, and we both explained that, that no, we're not looking to harm what is working whatsoever. Marie, always good talking to you. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
Properly set all controls before recording.
All systems go.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Tell me what's on your mind. You said there's nothing wrong. I know. Oh, it's been a long, long time since I last saw your face. Traces in my mind.
Welcome back, everyone. That, of course, the great Steve Perry on lead vocals. Journey. So I think I've told you that every now and then I'll come across those reaction videos, and it's the young folks that are discovering a lot of the classic rock groups from my era, you know, that it's their first time. That's what they say. So I caught one the other day. I don't know if this was just sort of made up for the reaction video or if it's the truth, but this guy, I'm going to estimate, was in his early 30s. And he was going to listen and react to Don't Stop Believing. Says he's never heard it before. I have a hard time believing that, but I guess that's possible. And, of course, the famous Escape Tour, 1981, November 6th. Houston, Texas. You can go out to YouTube. It's got gazillions of views. And he's watching it, and it's not too long into it. He has to stop. He's just aghast. He just can't comprehend the voice of that guy. Incredible. But I'm thinking, dude, where you been? You know, me, of course. Well, we're having fun.
That was track 2 on side 2 of Infinity.
Okay, that was on the Infinity album.
Yeah, it was the song after Wheel in the Sky.
And that would have been, was that 78, I think, the Infinity album?
Yeah, released January 78.
Yeah, got it. And that's when Greg Rowley was with the band on keyboards. That's before Jonathan Cain joined the group for the Escape Tour. But that's Greg Rowley that we've talked about before. A lot of people don't realize he is the voice of Black Magic Woman. Santana played at Woodstock. So did Neil Schon, the lead guitarist of Journey, when he was 14, discovered by Carlos Santana. Sharon and Brandon says, great song. What about those vocals, Sharon, on that song, man? And that's one, Rhino, you take the music away, like, yeah, this guy really could sing before auto-tune.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the cool things about audio tech in the last decade or so is it's gotten to the point where you can isolate vocals.
Yeah.
And pull them out of the track even without the masters.
Yeah.
So you have some of those all-time great voices, and people will go in with the technology and pull out and isolate just the vocals, and it's just like, yeah, there's a reason you made it big, because you're something special.
Well, certainly, in my opinion at least, no one better than the great Steve Perry. Larry, Steve Perry, the GOAT, says Sharon. Sharon and I like to share our love of Journey. And the other day I found one that's him singing Separate Ways, which is our intro song. Just his vocals. Unbelievable. Because huge range in that one, you know, so...
You'll find people like Steve Perry, Marvin Gaye, Freddie Mercury, just outstanding vocals, and you hear it with the music and it's powerful. You hear it without the music and it's almost inspiring.
It's like, wow. Yeah. You can't comprehend what you're hearing. Larry and Ma says, how do you think the Supreme Court will rule on Louisiana's redistricting case? Well, good question. And as we were saying earlier, it appears they're leaning towards saying, yeah, that's actually discrimination. Duh, is it not?
Yeah, based on the questioning, it seems like 6 of the 9 justices are leaning towards doing away with it. Or doing away with the black majority districts.
Guys, this is seismic, tectonic. I'd have to come up with some more adjectives. Monumental. What else can we come up with there? In other words, it's big. Oh, boy, as I like to tell my wife, that's huge all the time. But because what this means is states can't draw these lines. Because what happens now, you know this, in the Democrat states, they draw them and the DOJ says, okay, yeah, that's fine. Right? Because they're going to obviously draw them to include more of minority, Hispanics and black folks specifically, to ensure a certain outcome. Where states get in trouble are like Louisiana, Alabama, where they draw the districts and the DOJ says, nah, you don't have enough black and Hispanic people in there. Well, since when is that a requirement and criteria for drawing districts? Pretty sure our Constitution doesn't say that, right? I don't think it. And so here's a situation where the Supreme Court says, yeah, that really is not what the law says here, not what our founding documents say. It just says you take the census, and I'm paraphrasing it a bit, but conceptually, you guys go out and take the census, and you determine how many representatives you want total, which I think that's determined by the Congress, right, Rhino? So the Constitution, I think I got this right. Help me out here. I think the Constitution says, yeah, you take the census, and you come up with a number of people, and you divide that by the number of reps you're supposed to have in the House. Boom. That's the size of a district. That's how many districts you have, right? Whereas the Congress controls the size of a district. I think that's right. The terms of population. That's not set in the Constitution. That wouldn't make sense because our population is ever changing. The Constitution just says
Congress sets the number of seats.
That's what I mean. I said number of districts. I said number of people in the district. It equates to the same thing. And thank you for pointing that out. The number of seats, which would, of course, factor into the calculation that I cited earlier, which is take the whole population, divide it by the number of seats. Boom, that's the size of a district. That's what I meant to say. Thank you.
And the divisor and the dividend.
That's exactly right. And the quotient. That's right. So we're walking out there, and we're walking out on third grade math.
I was thinking about the kind of simple things that you remember from childhood education. Like, there's a lot that just kind of in one ear, out the other. But there's some things that just stick with you, like stalactites and stalagmites. There's a whole subsection of people that will never forget that, and there's a whole subsection of people that will always be confused by that.
That's exactly right.
Or the ending of the phrase, the mitochondria is, and for my generation, we all learned the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Okay. Well, what's the nucleus?
The center of the cell.
Okay.
Or the heart of the cell.
Right. I had a biology professor. I took advanced biology. We had such a course when I was in high school, when I was actually thinking about a different career path. And there were like 6 seniors in the class. And we had a really well outfitted, back in the 70s, lab. Had microscopes with the slides. And you'd have to rotate, go to each microscope. They still do that when you were in school? You look at the microscope.
Because it's a lot easier to have them set instead of, all right, class, here's your microscope, here's 5 slides. Get that slide under there, get it under the right lens, get it under the right light.
Well, they'd set them up, and you go around, and there would be a series of questions, 2 or 3 questions, at each microscope station, and you'd have to answer those questions. But my professor, wasn't a professor, high school teacher, he would use a piece of his hair. He'd pull out of his head, use that as the pointer under the slide. Now, I seem to remember learning this at some point, that straight hair is curly and curly hair straight or something. Have you ever heard that before? Something?
No.
Look me up on that. Like straight hair sort of curves. It has a curve to it, whereas curly hair, I think, may have some jags in it, but it's generally straight line. But he would use the hair, and he would stick that under the microscope. You know, the slides where you had a top and a bottom there and whatever. Tell me what the piece of hair is pointing to. He called it the pointer, of course. But I asked him one day, what is that? Oh, that's my hair.
Yeah, the Google box says the delineation is on the shape. Straight hair is usually round in cross-section, while curly hair is oval, like a flat ribbon.
Okay. I knew of something opposite of what you'd expect, so to speak, when you looked at it under a microscope. So, yeah, Larry Ma says, bye-bye, Benny. Here's the question, Rhino. Does our legislature have the cojones to do that? Right? To draw him out?
One would hope.
We would hope. All right, final segment is coming up next. Stay with us. We're in the Element Wealth studio.
The talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
We're rolling. Hit it. Go. Play it.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Scared in case I fall off my chair, and I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. Yes, I'm stuck in the middle with you, and I'm wondering what it is I should do. It's so hard to keep the smile from my face.
Okay, on the C Spire text line, another friend, Donna, says, yes, Sharon, he is the GOAT, talking about the great Steve Perry. So I just sent you, we'll have to get to it on another day, I just sent you a link to Separate Ways, our opening song, when they played it live before it had been released. Said it, and when Perry introduces it, he says, I think it's the first time, he's like, here's a brand new song. Hadn't played it yet. Unbelievable. So, let's see here. What else we got on the C Spire text line before we get out of here? Larry and Mai says, bye-bye, Benny. Let's hope so. So, who was responsible for redrawing all our districts that are, what's he trying to say there? This is Andy in Tupelo.
Well, I mean, we have special elections coming up due to redistricting in November.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm talking about at the state level. This would be, of course, it would apply at all levels, the Supreme Court ruling, yeah. And I don't know that was driven in any way, was it?
It was driven by federal courts.
DOJ, right, yeah. I couldn't remember at what level it had gotten, but same sort of deal. You need more black people in the district, so to speak. It's just wrong. It's racism. How could you say it's not? Am I going to get in trouble for saying that? It's the truth.
Oh, it's probably ticking somebody off at the moment.
Yeah.
But then again, the kind of people that would get ticked off at the truth are the kind of people that are going to be ticked off all the time anyways.
No matter what, huh? Ron from Ocean Springs says, it's bigly. Yeah, I was coming up with all the adjectives. Jimbo, Roy G. B.I.B.
Roy G. Biv for the colors of the rainbow. Another thing you learn in childhood education that just never leaves you.
I remember that. I'm missing something. Whatever district you live, you still vote for whom you choose, says John in Tupelo. That's right. It's, again, the whole deal with the courts coming down through the years since the 60s. Oh, go back and do it again there, states. You don't have enough what they call BVAP, black voting age population, within the boundaries there, and Hispanics as well. Yes, it's to achieve an outcome. Achieving outcome. So I guess what bugs me is it's like the message is, which is what one of the dissenters on the court you were talking about earlier said, oh, yeah, well, unless it's a black candidate or a Democrat candidate that, you know, supports my values, I don't have a voice. It's just what they're basically saying, which is just completely untrue. Really, it just is. So, totally disagree. Mose says, at a minimum, the legislature could compact all districts, straighten out the lines, so to speak. Yeah, that's what I said, Mose, in the past. Just let's use a random number generator to come up with some coordinates of boundaries that just purely random. Same sort of random number generator used to produce lottery numbers. Same sort of deal.
Basically, if the Supreme Court strikes down this part of the Voting Rights Act, then there is no longer an impetus to draw a congressional district from the Delta with a tendril reaching all the way into Metro Jackson.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, it's so, and you know, if you look at, is it Illinois? It's super chopped up. I mean, it may be worse.
That's
of all.
why Democrats are losing their minds over this, is because even though outwardly they'll never say it, deep down they understand that they have already gerrymandered to the max.
Right. That's exactly
Every
right.
single blue state is gerrymandered to a point that they can't really get away with anymore.
That's totally right. I agree. So, I got to pass this on before we're out of here today. A judge has ordered parents. This is in Virginia. No surprise. Loudoun County, Virginia. That's like the epicenter of liberal wacko-ness, is it not? Parents to post a $125,000 bond to continue their Title IX case after their sons were suspended from school after being uncomfortable that a girl was in their locker room. The two boys were accused of sexually harassing a female student who identifies as a male. The female student filmed the two male students who made it clear they were uncomfortable. So that's considered harassment. That's how crazy upside down our world is. Instead of suspending the female student for being in the boys' bathroom, the school issued both boys a 10-day suspension. What? Because they were in the boys' bathroom and felt uncomfortable that a girl hopped in there? This is nuts. So, a $125,000 bond to continue the case. You don't think the judge is a little biased? We are out of here today. Back with you again tomorrow to wrap up the week. Stay safe and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.